Today, we're diving into a significant Civil War engagement known as the Battle of Glasgow, fought on October 15, 1864. This battle was part of Price's Missouri expedition, and it marked a critical point in the conflict in that region. Can we start with an overview of the situation leading up to this battle? What were the key factors that led to this clash in Glasgow?
Absolutely. The backdrop of the battle stems from Major General Sterling Price's attempt to bring the war into Missouri following a series of Confederate defeats. Price aimed to capture St. Louis, but after the setback at the Battle of Pilot Knob, he shifted tactics to raid regions where he had stronger support. Glasgow, being a pro-Confederate area, seemed ripe for such an operation, especially since there were rumors of a Union weapons cache there.
It's interesting how local sentiment towards the Confederacy played into strategic decisions. Can you elaborate on the forces involved from both sides?
Certainly. The Union garrison in Glasgow was led by Colonel Chester Harding, Jr., and was primarily composed of militia and the 43rd Missouri Infantry Regiment, totaling between 550 and 800 men. Across the conflict, the Confederates, commanded by Brigadier General John B. Clark, Jr., brought a stronger force of around 1,700 to 1,800 men. They were eager to capture supplies after earlier setbacks.
It sounds like the Confederates had a numerical advantage. How did the battle itself unfold on the morning of October 15th?
The battle began early when Confederate artillery opened fire at 5 a.m. This caught the Union forces off guard. Colonel Harding was offered a chance to surrender, but after rejecting it, his men found themselves quickly overwhelmed as the Confederates pushed them back into the town. A significant moment came when Harding's troops burned 50,000 rations to prevent them from falling into Confederate hands.
That was a strategic decision to diminish resources for the enemy. Once they were pushed into the town, what happened next in the actual fighting?
Once the Union troops were entrenched in Glasgow, they faced constant pressure from Confederate forces. House-to-house fighting ensued as the Confederates closed in. Despite the defenders' strong position, their lack of artillery and a better numeric presence on the Confederate side ultimately tipped the scales against them. By early afternoon, Harding decided to surrender.
The surrender must have had a considerable impact on morale. What were the immediate consequences of this battle for both sides?
The Confederates experienced a much-needed morale boost after their recent defeats, capturing a significant number of weapons and supplies. For the Union, this loss further demonstrated the vulnerabilities in the region as guerrilla activity increased. The town of Glasgow became a target for raiding once the Union defenders left.
And it seems that the repercussions didn't end immediately after the battle. The aftermath was quite tumultuous for both sides, wasn't it?
It was indeed. Following the battle, the area became increasingly dangerous. Quantrill's raiders and other guerrillas began operating with more freedom, committing acts of violence and robbery. Moreover, Price's forces continued their campaign, but met defeats soon after, at significant engagements like the Battle of Westport.
What does this tell us about the broader military strategies being employed during this phase of the Civil War?
It illustrates the desperation felt by the Confederacy in its last efforts to draw attention away from the more critical battles occurring in the East. It also highlights how local dynamics could influence military decisions and the effectiveness of campaigns, often hinging on the morale and readiness of both soldiers and civilian populations.
As we reflect on this battle, how has it been remembered today? Are there any efforts to preserve its history?
Yes, indeed. Interpretive signage has been placed in Glasgow to commemorate the battle, and reenactments are held to educate the public about this significant event. The history continues to resonate because it illustrates both the challenges of war and the complexities of local allegiances during that period.
In summary, the Battle of Glasgow serves as a microcosm of the intense conflict in Missouri. It reflects the intricate connections between local sentiment, military strategy, and the larger narrative of the Civil War. Thank you for shedding light on this pivotal moment.